Okay, everybody, this is Dan Cirucci again, and I'm here with Daryl Brooks. Daryl, you and I met on Facebook,
Yes, we did.
and it's so much fun now to finally see you and get to chat with you.
Oh, I'm excited too. We finally got it to work. We're using the laptop, and I'm excited to have a great intellectual conversation about the president and why are African Americans supporting the president.
Yeah, I'm not sure how intellectual it's going to be from my part, but we'll see how it goes. But Daryl, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Well, I'm from Trenton, New Jersey. I was a independent. I got involved in politics. I've been in politics all my life.
Uh-huh.
Since I guess junior high school, elementary, sixth grade, running for sixth grade president. And so I've been in politics basically, I guess, since I was, like I said, 6 years old. Going to college, Mercer County College, two-time Black Student Union president, vice president of student government, running campaigns. And I guess in the past, since 2008, I ran for office a few times. But in 2008, in 2010, getting involved, I think that's when the Tea Party movement started.
Right, right.
And getting involved with the New Jersey Tea Party movement, which was very exciting, and meeting different people from different areas
Hmm.
of New Jersey. And,
Hmm.
and some of these people, they was telling me, Daryl, how could you hang out with these people? They're racist, they're evil, they hate African Americans, and some of these individuals are my best friends. I talk to every day of the week. I got to call them and check up on them. They're older than me, but
Yeah,
yeah.
let's back up a little bit, Daryl. Where
Mhm.
did your interest in politics come from? What started it? What motivated it?
I think as all of us were kids at one time, we all watched PBS. And so we used to watch always the Kennedys, the Kennedys
Right.
and the Roosevelts and Martin Luther King documentaries, and I think watching the Kennedys and the Martin Luther King documentary had I guess piqued my interest.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I mean, the Kennedys were glamorous. They were
yeah,
glamorous.
yeah, it's Camelot. That's what that's what everybody loved, those documentaries, and it was like, wow, and everybody wanted to. Either you want to be like as an African American, it was like Martin Luther King was the hero, and then everybody loved John F. Kennedy, want to be president of the United States one day.
Yeah,
So
let me, yeah, because I think he was a young, vigorous, handsome president. He was the youngest president in our lifetime, and he brought a lot of people into politics. But you mentioned Dr. King, Daryl, and
mhm,
I have to ask you. Now, this is a hard question,
mhm.
but what would Dr. King be thinking today, looking at what's happening in the country today? What do you think he would,
Well,
you know?
well, I've been involved with the Southern Christian Leadership for past since I guess around 2000 and I guess 2004, and talked to a lot of Martin Luther King's aides, like before they died, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, um, Doctor, let me see, who else was the ones? Reverend Orange, King aides, and had conversations with them about Martin Luther King.
Yes.
And I just uh, you know, and Martin Luther King, they said what would be great to see the accomplish of African Americans and poor people, with finances, athletics, great strides, mayors and senators, and that would excite him.
And
People
we had a black president.
and a black president. But he would be sad to see a lot of the poor people, a lot of the violence, more violence than ever before. The violence on the TV stations, the violence in the movies, the
Right.
violent video games. One way we're great, we're progressing financially, but other ones, when you look at the whole moral problem, a lot more young kids aren't going to church, being more violent than ever before.
People on
And
drugs.
Yeah, the drugs, the crime, the violence, the prisons. It's that would hurt. That would hurt Martin Luther King. He would be upset to see that. And in a way, he'd be excited. Okay, we had an African American president. We're great scribes and businesses and mayors and senators and uh, athletes making millions of dollars. But when it comes to the whole moral problem that we have in our cities, he would be so upset. And even also, when you look at the riots that took place, I was there. I don't know if you've seen the videos. I was in Philadelphia videotaping the riots, and to see young kids, 16, 15, 18, 19 years old, burning down buildings and trying to burning cars, both inner city, suburban, black and white youth, angry, looting, throwing bricks at cops. I mean, doing all these terrible things. And one of the things that people ask me, they was like, Daryl, where's the Martin Luther King now of the day? Where's that one person or individuals that can, come into the inner cities and speak out? And sadly, there isn't any.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess every generation there comes a time when you'll eventually someone will come together and bring people together.
Yeah, how did you
To deal
feel
with this
about,
problem.
yeah, Daryl, you said you were there in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
You were, how did you feel about what you saw?
It was sad. One of the things I was sad about is I saw this young kid. He had to be 12 years old, at least 12. And 12, 13 years old. And I was walking, they were marching, and I was walking with the detective, and we were talking, and this 12-year-old started cursing at the detective, calling him all types of names, and looking at me, oh, you with the cops, you're a snitch. And I felt bad. And it was a bunch of them. It was a bunch of young kids, angry, morally corrupted at 12 years old, at 12.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so 12, 13 years old, don't have a problem robbing. And I felt bad, and the kid needed Jesus. The kid needed to know who Jesus was. And it's astounding me just to see these things happening in these areas, and they keep voting for these politicians that say everything is going to be all right, and it's worse than ever before. And they keep supporting also these church leaders that say, church and I'll fix everything, and we praise God, and no one was out there. No preachers were out there.
No, you were there, Daryl. You were there in what capacity?
The video. I was there to take video, let people see what was happening, because a lot of people didn't see, wasn't seeing what was happening, the looting. So it was me and a friend of mine, Dan O'Neill, and another person. We went out into the streets to see what people was talking about. And we went inside stores, we talked to the police, we talked to the fire department. We were inside a store that was burning, that they just looted drugstores. And talking to people, why are they doing this? Why are they all so upset? And
this was in Philadelphia.
In Philadelphia, and downtown Philadelphia,
Center City.
Center City. Then we went to West Philly, and West Philly was on fire. And one of the strangest things, I have a Facebook Live talk show called On Fire. And every time I was saying, they're on fire. We're on fire here on Fire Show. And I realized that people are angrier than ever before, but they also are morally corrupted as ever before. Mm-hmm. And I've never seen people. I saw Spanish, white, black looting. I even saw some North Koreans looting. That was yeah, that.
There's some more. So Daryl, your faith has played a big role here, hasn't it?
Yes.
It's always been a very big role in your life.
Oh yeah, I tell a story about my grandmother down in St. Mary's, Georgia. Now, St. Mary's, Georgia is a significant, one of the significant, a city, a town, a small town. Um, it's the second oldest city in America. My family's down there, and that's why I kind of started politics. My uncle took me; he was running for county commissioner, and so I worked on his campaign when I was like 10, 11 years old. And so that was really, I started in politics. And then, but also my grandma, Mama Gracie, she took me to church seemed like 5, 6 days a week.
Wow.
So so you had to know Jesus. And when it thunderstormed and rained, she sat me on a porch. And I remember the time she sat me on the porch and read the Bible to me. And, I looked at her as the perfect Christian. The pastor come over, eat the best chicken on Sunday over the house. He'd come over. We went on church Sunday and we went to 2 services on Sunday, maybe 3 services on Sunday, but I went to church at least 5, 6 times in a week. It was, yeah. So, I mean.
Now, what party did you said was it your?
He was a Democrat, but the Democrats were different. Those was more of the blue dog Democrats. You talk about 1980s, early 70s, mid 70s, 80s. Down there they was against. They supported the Second Amendment. They was against abortion. They were going to save their money.
The Democratic Party was a different party.
Different party.
It wasn't the radical party that it is today.
Yeah, the radical left. Yes.
Right. And so you've seen a tremendous change in your lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Even down when I went back to St. Mary's, Georgia 2 years ago, and I sat down with, we had at a cigar lounge, and we was in Crabs, and the guy was a Democrat, and the other guy was a Republican. And still today, there's no difference in somewhat in how they thinking. They both believe in Second Amendment, right to bear arms, protect themselves. They're against abortion. And and also they were talking about they both supported Trump, and they didn't support Hillary Clinton because Hillary Clinton was the Democrat was far too left.
So even the guy who called himself a Democrat, he supported Trump.
Yeah.
So Neil, let me ask you this, Daryl. You're a supporter of President Trump. So what was the thing that moved you to the Republican Party and also moved you to support President Trump? And when did that happen?
Wow, I was a Ted Cruz supporter.
Okay.
And so I went to the UN. No, it was the Washington rally against the Obama when he signed the Iran deal he made with the Iranians, and so they had a big rally. You had Ted Cruz down there. You had Glenn Beck. All the candidates were down there, and so it was in Washington, and and President Trump showed up.
Was that CPAC?
No, it was a rally against the Iranian deal.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And so everybody was down there.
Showed up. He wasn't president yet.
No, he wasn't president.
Okay.
So everybody showed up, and you had all the politicians, the entertainers down there. I can't think of the guys with the beard. They have that show. Former Pittsburgh player, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. I can't think of his name. He has the beard.
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Duck
Dynasty.
Duck Dynasty. They were down there. Beck was down. Everybody was down there.
Yeah.
So President Trump was walking down. He had a crowd. You would thought he was, Michael Jackson. He had the media all around him. And I shook his hand. I said, "Can I get a picture with you?" And then my phone wasn't working. And I thought at first he was the most arrogant SOP I ever met in my life. So, I was like, but I knew this guy was going to be president because I saw the media all around him.
Right.
And so, I was looking at all the rest of them, and they were like, oh, here's this guy, who's this Trump guy? He got so much, got the media all around him. And so when I started understanding uh, President Trump at the debates and things that he were talking about, I realized he wanted to be president and he wanted to do something great.
Right.
And I can admire someone who's going to do something great, who wants to uh, change and make it better for our country.
And what's it make America great again?
Yeah, make America great again. And so, it's during the inauguration, I'm in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and helping a buddy of mine out for the campaign and election day. And and so I woke up 1 o'clock, and they declared President Trump president of the United States, and I couldn't stop laughing. I could not. I tell you this story. I could not stop laughing. And President Trump walks out, and he has this look on his face like, "Oh my God, what did I get myself into?" He had that look, and I just could not stop laughing because I was in Scranton, I was in Wilkesboro, and I seen that all these people, like the Obama lines in 2008, it was Trump lines, and and it was 2000, and people were 100, 200 people in line. They were people that voted that had not the votes. People were voting. They had double, triple the numbers by 12 o'clock p.m. in certain areas in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, and so the numbers was there. People were waiting in lines, and so I was telling my buddy Lou Jasikoff, he's a libertarian, and I said, "Man, this is something right here." And so when we were waking up, we seen Trump won, and President Trump won the election. I started laughing, and I could not, I was really like, wow, the media was wrong, and then also the polling was wrong, and I, as a person that understands elections, the media and the polling got it so wrong. They got it so wrong.
Let me ask you this. Do you get a lot of flack from people, especially from Black people, that you're a Republican and that you support President Trump? It must be difficult. I mean, do you get a lot of blowback? Get a lot of pushback?
No, I think it was difficult during the Tea Party movement.
Okay.
That was a difficult moment right there. So with President Trump, I think there are people that are just, there's some people that are just ignorant. And I got in some debates. I've been debating people. How they, and African American, the liberals, who was the worst president? Trump is the worst president of all time, and Trump's this. And this, I said, no president is perfect. Find me a president is perfect. All presidents, they make certain mistakes, but President Trump really wants to make America strong again, make America great again, build up the economy. He's not out starting wars. He is different. And so, we talk about how the media has disrupted President Trump's the election. They have his candidacy and his presidency. They have done a hell of a job to try to destroy this man. And I think that a lot of people are seeing it, but not enough, especially African Americans, Spanish, and a lot of the liberals are in certain areas. So one of the things how I got involved supporting Trump, I was in Burlington, and I was coming into Trenton, and I was on the River Line. And during that, they had the marches. Remember, all the women came out and marched against President Trump. So it was a girl, she was a liberal. And she said to me, she was a white, a liberal, and she had the march. She was marching, and we were on a train together, and I got kind of nervous. So she said to me, I wish someone would shoot President Donald Trump in the head. And I'm like, did I just hear this? And so she was like, I asked her, well, what do you think about his children? Would his children be sad? She didn't care. She just said somebody should shoot this man in the head. And I'm like, and for me, that showed how sick the liberal left are, and wanting to see this president dead, shot in the head, and care nothing about what his kids feel. And also how the ignorance, I'm on a train, I'm on a bus, and especially in African American areas, oh, Trump is going to send us all back to Africa. And all this crazy. I'm like, who told you that? I heard it on the news. Who, are you sure? I mean, like, I know CNN and CNN, MSNBC are nothing but agents of the deception. And so, it was like people were like in the media as soon as he became president, started attacking him. So I was asked to speak at a rally and in Middletown, New Jersey, and it was a powerful rally. I think I was the only speaker. I had a few other people join me, but it had about 500 people in Middletown at the ShopRite, and and that's when I basically declared myself a President Trump supporter. And I was kind of upset what the media had done, openly lied to the people, openly lied. They was against him from the soon as they loved him during the president, as soon as he's running for president. The media showed all the rallies and Joe in the morning, called him up at 7 o'clock, hey, Trump, how you doing, buddy? I was like, okay. So then, soon as he wins, they switch up. And, and so.
Set out to destroy him.
To try to destroy him. It was they were coming together, the media, a plan to destroy his presidency.
Let me ask you this. Romney got about 4% of the black vote. They say that Trump doubled that. He got about 8% of the black vote, maybe more. How do you think he's going to do this time with the African American vote, especially now with the COVID and the riots and the George Floyd affair and everything else?
I don't know. Before all this was happening, he might have got 13 to 14, 15%.
Right.
I talked to a lot of bus drivers, train drivers. They like Trump. They said, how's your 401k doing? It's doing great. They don't have a problem with Trump.
Yeah.
A certain generation, if you're in like someone in your 40s and their 50s and 60s, they don't have a problem with the president. And so when this COVID-19 happened and the riots happened, which I somehow believe that something was planned to do this. It was a planned conspiracy, and so to derail. I mean, they tried everything they can in media and
they tried the impeachment. They tried everything they could
to derail his presidency. And now you have the COVID, and now and also the George Floyd riots was taking riots all around the country.
Yeah,
and protests around the world. At one time, I can see, before that, I can say, yeah, he's going to get a number, maybe the highest percent to any president in history, Republican president in history has gotten. And so I think is that people, I think once they have a debate and they see Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy Joe, right.
Sleepy Joe, when they see Sleepy Joe and they see, and President Trump will destroy Joe. Destroy him.
Yeah.
He has no chance.
I would think.
He has no chance.
Yeah. If if the
He might not
debate,
know what state he's in.
yeah.
It
Oh
gets
no,
up there.
he's been failing. That's why they've been hiding him. They've been hiding him in the
Yeah.
basement. But let me ask you this, Daryl. Do you know or talk to a lot of other Black people who maybe are not, they don't go around wearing a "Make America Great" red hat, but are there a lot of them that that even though they're not wearing a Trump button or a hat, say to you that they're going to vote for Trump?
Yeah, I think I've talked to some of them, and they still support our presidency. Trump presidency. I think that President Trump has to do rallies and go in certain areas, but when it comes to this coronavirus, this is unusual thing that's never haven't happened since biblical times, or not biblical times, since the
100 years ago.
yeah, 100 years ago, the Black Plague and other certain things that have happened.
100
People are,
years ago, it was the flu. I forget what flu they called it, but it was 100 years ago.
yeah. So when you see something like this happens, this is you have to get really creative as a politician, and as a Republican Party has to get really creative, use the internet and other areas to promote his candidacy, and he has to actually talk about the economy and also about COVID-19. Talk about the COVID-19, or you want to call it the Chinese flu, the Kung flu.
Is there a lot of support? Is there a lot of support for Trump in the faith community among African Americans? Among African American
I think that I believe that it is so, but different parts of the country.
Yeah.
If you go down to maybe some parts of Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi and Texas and Ohio and Pennsylvania, certain areas, even in New Jersey, there are
Pockets.
pockets. Yeah. So I think there's pockets around the country, and when you look at the Facebook Live talk shows, the individuals that are pushing Facebook Live events, there are more young African Americans ever before, especially men. And we're surprised to see that different people wearing Trump hats, President Trump hats, and that's exciting to see.
Yeah,
that.
if you look at some of the rallies, you'll see these people, right?
Yeah.
But the media don't want to cover these people. The
No,
media don't want to talk to people like you, do they?
No,
They don't want to talk to you.
Because first of all, the media, once you tell the media, well, I told this one girl, she came to my job. This was when Trump was president. I think he elected in his first 2 months in office. And she was a liberal. She was a liberal and lesbian. And she thought that I was a regular worker. Just I didn't know anything. And she said, well, Trump's the worst president in the history of all mankind. I'm like, wow, really? Just 3 months, he's the worst. Well, I said, well, um, you know, well, how about Bill Clinton when he's signed a 94 crime bill? Over 1 million Black men went to jail when he disbanded the Glass-Steagall Act. That caused it, basically almost called the 2008 fall of America, economic power in America. Or you want to talk about the war. And I said, listen, the George Bush war. Then you want to look at Obama. Then you want to talk about, well, Obama deported 4 million illegal immigrants. And so the Obama droned men, women, and children. Obama bailed out Wall Street. George Bush bailed out Wall Street. The economy, and so you had, I went on and went on and went on. And I talked about, and so how could this man in office for only 3 months, and he is the worst president, and it's like a lot of young people don't know history.
Right. Well, what did she say, this girl?
She just looked at me and was like, had this look on her face, like, okay, this guy is not an average salesman. She just had this look on her face, and I was like,
You didn't want to hear it.
no, she had to look what I just talked about so much, I went on about Roosevelt and everything else,
She was a
and
little overwhelmed.
overwhelmed. And she just thought I was just a regular worker
Yeah.
in a
Daryl,
store.
I want to, we're running out of time, but I want to end
Okay.
with this question, and this is an important question. Let me see how I can help. I just got to ask you, have you been stopped a lot by the police, Daryl? Have you been stopped for no reason whatsoever on numerous occasions by the police?
I guess not in the past 15, 20 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so
Wait a minute, wait a minute. You haven't been pulled over on the road by the police?
I was pulled over one time. Me and a buddy of mine, happened in the early 90s. We're in college, and in the state troopers, and
And
we
what
just drive.
happened? Tell me what happened.
We were just driving by. He says, "You got anything in the car? You want to?" Nope. Everything all right. Fine. Hands on the wheels, and they looked in the trunk, didn't find anything, and that was it. We let us go. And listen, I just want to say this. I think that you have some individuals or cops that are great police officers, but then you have some bad seeds. But
Right.
also you have individuals, like I was told as a child, leave the cops alone. Don't argue with them. Keep your hands on the wheel. Keep your hands, yes sir, no sir. That's it. So a lot of young people today have not been told how to act in front of a police. You can't sit there and curse a cop out. You can't sit there and take a cop his what is it, the phaser.
Right.
You can't punch cops and expect not to get something to happen to you. Now, no one deserves to die,
Right.
but still, you can't be the agitator. And a lot of young people today who are growing up 18, 19, 20s, in the 30s, they haven't been told how to act when the police stops you.
And you were told this from an early age.
I was told this from an early age. When the cops come, they ask you a question, be cordial, no officer, yes officer, I don't have any drugs, you can check the car, you can do whatever, fine, I'm good. And that was it. And my uncle said, well, if you swing at an officer or you try to do something, expect to get your behind kicked out, your behind kicked. And so this was something our generation knew not to do.
Right.
Not to do. And so you have a younger generation, whether they're inner city or suburb, black and white, young people who are so angry and disrespectful. And listen, all people aren't perfect, and I remember, listen, there was a black cop got angry with me in the city of Trenton and maced me for no reason. And, so I was like 21, 22. So you have good cops and bad cops. And you have to know how to treat each other. And that's what it's all about. We're all God's greatest, we're all God's creature, and God has us on here, this earth, to do great things. Martin Luther King said, when he said that true forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne, yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown stands God within the shadows, keeping watch above his own. God is always in the shadows watching us. He's there for us. We have to call on him. And my problem is there are a lot of people, whether in the city, suburb, black or white, are not calling on God and to help them out and get them out of difficulties. And focusing on, we all are one brothers. You're not my white brother or a black brother, you're my brother. And we have to see each other as that, as brothers. And once we see each other as brothers, then brothers and sisters, then we'll be a lot better as a people.
What a beautiful sentiment. It's a beautiful sentiment, Daryl, and I'm going to end on that. It's been wonderful chatting with you tonight.
Oh, I enjoy it. We finally got on.
Yes, and we'll have to keep in touch, Daryl.
Okay, no problem. God bless.
This was great. God bless you too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.